and I mean to the individual level. Let me give you another example. Say you're a house husband. I hear that's a thing now, right? Where you're at home and your wife works. But boy, you make the best damn barbecue out there. And you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on your local neighborhood app. Well, what if all of a sudden you uh, uh, you offer a plate of barbecue every Friday evening for only $12, and this is what you get with it. And you send that out to all your neighbors around you, and they're like, hell, that sounds good. Bobby does have a damn good barbecue, and then I don't have to cook nothing. Plus, it's supporting Bobby. Plus, I know he uses great meat. Man, you know what? I think I'm going to buy some Bobby barbecue on the way home. So your neighbor sends you a message on Facebook and says, "Hey, Bobby, we want 4 plates of that. I'll swing over to the house at about 4:30. I'll have your plates ready, buddy." And all of a sudden, individuals at home, they got an income, right? Everything's going to decentralize. Now, mind you, there's room for like McDonald's and stuff, but they're going to hit a level of
why wouldn't Bobby just get his robot to make the Bobby barbecue?
Because it ain't the same. Because it's there. There's going to be a premium on human created food, human created art, human created everything will have a premium to it, because everything else it's exactly why you go to Walmart and there's this vase at Walmart and it's pretty, and there's 20 of them sitting on the shelf there that was happily made in Taiwan. Well, they're only $4 each. But you head down the road and you get a vase from a local dealer, you're paying $300, $400 for a human-made vase. And blockchain, using blockchain authentication and hey Heidi, EFT, yeah, yes. Oh, no, NFTs. I'm sorry, I was trying to think of
non-fungible tokens.
Yep, non-fungible tokens. You'll be able to authenticate that vase was made by a certain artist. They'll have a cryptographic signature and an NFT that comes with that vase. So in the old days, they'd flip them over and they'd number them.
Yep.
And they'd actually put like their mark on it.
Yep.
Like with silver.
Royal Daltons, handmade Royal Daltons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all going to go away. You're not going to need that. You're going to authenticate through an NFT of the item. So what you call work someone else might call their passion. Their the like I know a lot of guys who hate building houses, has swung a hammer for 40 years, doesn't want to look at another 2x4. And I got other friends who live for it, and they're detailed. And man, they will build you a house that is absolutely flawless. That's their passion. I have guys who hate working on cars. I got other friends, they do that 16 hours a day and friggin' twice on Tuesday. That's their passion. I I I have women who are friends. They cook when no one's hungry. They just love to bake. You go over to their house, you're walking out 15 pounds heavier, right? Everyone's going to choose their work. And in this new system, you'll be able to get paid for whatever your work is instantly.
Well, this is a complete rethink on everything. And as I'm listening to you, I'm sitting thinking I have to rethink all of this. I need time to digest it all because this will have um, impact that I think people have not even fully thought through. Economists, that we're going to have to reevaluate economic theory on every level.
Let's just say this, they're going to have to rename they're going to have to go from economists to I-economists because everything's going to be individual.
So, what will this mean for, say, nation states, international relations, the geopolitics, RFK Jr., Trump? They're looking at creating a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. What will that mean? Like we've got right now, the US dollar is the world reserve currency. That has, been the case since World War II. We have the US dollar. If the US dollar is undermined, then the US economy could potentially crash. But if you're replacing that, or what are you doing? Backing up the US dollar with Bitcoin?
Yes.
Is that what the idea
Yep.
is here?
Yep. It's Trump is going to shift us from a fiat currency into a commodity based currency. And it will be tokenized. And we will get rid of the Federal Reserve and it will roll right back into the Treasury. And we will have a digital currency, physical currency, and we will have a globe that accumulates Bitcoin as the major, eventually the major reserve asset.
So
See,
essentially, Bitcoin becomes the new gold.
no, it actually becomes the new oil.
Okay, well, that's a fair way to look at it too. Sure, because it's a commodity more than gold ever was, right?
Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's more liquid than oil. I can send you Bitcoin way before I can send you oil.
And then the theory would be if instead of relying on good relations with Saudi Arabia, which requires the purchase of oil with US dollars to prop up the value of the dollar, if the United States actually holds the reserve of Bitcoin, it's kind of like holding a reserve of digital oil. Is that a fair way to
Yes,
look at it?
yes, And that's why Trump said a few weeks ago that he wants to produce the Bitcoin in America. He wants the mining of Bitcoin all in America, because what that does is it optimizes our electrical grid, where all of our electrical facilities can run at 100% capacity with never having a single second of non-profitability.
Wow. Okay.
Let that sink
So
in.
so you set up a bunch of supercomputers running AI to mine for the Bitcoin, and you dominate in that way.
Yep. And what this allows for, we can set up huge electrical plants in areas that don't have humans. It no longer, there's no transmission loss, because now every 60 miles you lose about 8% of electricity across the line. Well, now you can literally have a nuclear plant out in the middle of nowhere that just mines Bitcoin. Or you can have the electric plant right outside of St. Louis, Missouri, mining Bitcoin on site, where when the human need drops for the electricity at night because everyone's sleeping, you ramp up your Bitcoin miners. And then, actually, during the day, when it's at peak demand, you switch off some of your Bitcoin miners, and the general public has all the power they need, and the price of electricity drops, because electricity, there is a term called what's it called? Demand anticipation cost. That's about 18% loss on all electricity made. They think we'll need about this much at this time, so they always produce slightly over.
So if they need to, so that you don't get brownouts
Right.
and
Well,
disruption in
if
the
you're
grid.
mining Bitcoin, you set that at 100%. You're profitable whether people are using it or the miners are using it, which allows you to drop your overall electric cost over everybody, which will drop the average American price from 13 cents per kilowatt to about 4 cents per kilowatt.
This is mind blowing stuff. So
Uh,
what's going to
I
prevent? Sorry. Go ahead.
I hate to do this. I have another
Sure.
interview here, like right now, in fact.
Right.
But
Wow.
I can gladly come back anytime you want me.
Okay. Can we continue this next week sometime?
Absolutely,
All
brother.
right.
Uh,
All right.
Call up Heidi. She'll set it up, and I got more to tell you, brother.
Oh yeah, you sure do. This is a great conversation, Ben. Thank you so much for this. This just piques everyone's interest and will build the audience even bigger for the next appearance that you make. So
Absolutely. And if anyone wants information on our clubs and our websites,
right.
please call us at 941-391-3882. Either text, call, or leave us a message.
Fantastic stuff. Bitcoin Ben, thank you, sir. I'll let you go to your next interview, and we'll see you next week.
All right,
He's a
Rick.
fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight for freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from, but there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech, free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, I'm back, and we have another guest. He's ready, he's willing, he's eager, and he is right there.
Hey, hopefully we make some snowflakes cry again. Hey, are you feeling okay? You look horrible. I'm just kidding. Just a joke. Just a joke. Just playing.
Well, truth is sometimes painful, but
No, just playing around, of course.
Yeah,
How are
welcome.
you, brother?
just fine. Welcome back, Joseph. We have things to discuss tonight. I know you've been digging into a story, and we're going to get to that, but there are some things I think we should maybe touch on before we get to the material you've prepared, because I think it is sort of related, a lot of this stuff, because we're going to be talking about information warfare, propaganda, fake news, real news, what's real, what isn't, how do you tell the difference, and so on.
All
Um,
issues interrelate and interconnect. I get that criticism on my own show. Why are you down so many other rabbit holes? Because nothing exists in a vacuum. All these things relate. You can't just, hey, squirrel, right? The movie Up, squirrel. Stop paying attention to the shiny objects and understand they all relate, right? They want
Yes,
you
they
to
do.
look at this. So
Yeah.
make sure you're paying attention to that.
So, so I think the first thing we should maybe touch on is this President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris greeting the Americans who have been freed from Russia. As you know, I'm sure we've had this gigantic, historic prisoner swap. Some would say spy swap, depending
Yeah,
on how
well,
you view these
yeah.
people. Right? Are they
No,
journalists? Are they spies?
yeah.
What do you think?
Well, we gave up real murderers, a real Russian assassin planted in Germany. Is that, I'm glad Paul Whelan's back. I've been crying. The Brittany Griner swap. Uh, she actually broke the law. Elitist piece of crap. She should have been left to rot. But of course, Biden wanted oh my God, let me get the black lesbian out and give up who? The merchant of death. Literally, arms, the left always cries about, oh, gun control, gun control. And who do they give up? A gun peddler, an arms dealer, a terror supporter for an idiot basketball player. Paul Whelan should have been out before, so I'm glad Biden now, when they're desperate for good news, decided to do something. But again, what did we give up to get those wrongfully detained and held as political prisoners in Russia? We gave up a Russian assassin. So he's back on the loose again.
So this is what it looked like much earlier today, as the hostages returned, and Biden and Harris were there to greet them. So overall, Joseph, do you think it was a fair deal?
No. If you didn't get that implication from what I said already, the short answer is hell bleepy bleepy bleepity bleep no.
And so what about these Americans? Do you think, Evan Gershkovich was convicted in Russia on a charge of espionage? Do you think that was valid, or do you think that that was just bogus?
That was bogus, and the whole Whelan thing also bogus. And they know. We gave what, $6 billion to Iran to give up some Americans earlier that were wrong. Yeah. So Hamas, Hezbollah, Russia, China, will do it too. I mean, our enemies all know whenever there's a Democrat in the office, they'll give away anything and everything. So they know to take hostages. And that's what this is. We're giving away, again, the merchant of death and an assassin that will be on the loose again now. And with Iran, $6 billion, which then is going to Hezbollah and Hamas terrorists, we give away everything. So what do? Duh, if I'm the Ayatollah, I order you take more American hostages. We get more money.
Yeah, well, that's why Reagan always said, right? We don't negotiate with
terrorists.
With
Yep.
terrorists, yeah.
Now, for every rule, of course, there has to be the occasional exception. But, yeah, in general, you cannot negotiate. You cannot appease, like idiot Democrats, 3 last administrations, all trying to appease Iran. Oh, please like us. Please stop chanting death to America along with death to Israel. Because again, you moron anti-Semites, they consider them the little Satan. They consider the rest of the West, U.S. and Canada, Britain, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, as the big Satan, especially the USA. But they're not going to be happy nuking Jerusalem and erasing Israel. They want to nuke New York and D.C. and L.A. and Seattle and anywhere and everywhere else they can. And you don't need an ICBM to do that. Once you have an active weapon, you could send it over on a cargo ship. You morons, wake up. Stop appeasing them. Stop aiding and abetting our enemies.
So there's Biden, like,
Yeah, when he wandered onto the plane, they're trying to say, oh, he wanted to go and congratulate the pilots.
We're going to show people that.
Maybe, but again, a one-off, as we'll discuss in a little bit. I will use one-off again later. A one-off or a twosie is a coincidence. Over and over and over, like the idiocy of Joe Biden, is called a pattern of behavior.
Interesting. What is he doing? What's he pinning something on him, or
I
is
think
he
you're
sniffing
right
him?
there.
what's
I-
what's he
that's what-
doing?
Yeah, I think he's probably pinning something on, but I'm not sure either. I don't think they would be pinning a Medal of Freedom or anything randomly in a return of a hostage thing. That would, of course, you'd want to have a pomp and circumstance event at the White House to do that, right? So who knows? Maybe just a flag lapel pin.
Man, just look at the way he walks. He's just showing his age, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring the audio up.
And the Easter Bunny's not there to save him this time.
What was the toughest call in this one?
Toughest call in this one for other countries. Because I asked them to do some things that were against their immediate self-interest. And they were very difficult for them to do, particularly Germany.
Low audio.
So really came in at the last minute, and I tell you what, the chancellor was incredible. It was incredible.
So what's your message to other countries that may think that taking advantage
Oh, there's tackles.
would be a good way to get something they want from us?
Hey, look,
Sorry.
that's been the case for all of history. And my job is to make sure that, number one, they don't get them. If they do, we get them back. I don't buy this idea that you're not going to let these people rot in jail because other people may be captured. We're going to set out all the notifications to all the other countries, all our citizens, what countries not to go to, what to do, what not to do, and they got to pay attention. I got more work to do. So,
Madam Vice President, how do you feel?
This is an extraordinary day, and I'm very thankful for our president and what he has done his entire career, but in particular as it relates to these families and these individuals, what he has been able to do to bring the allies together on many issues, but in particular this one. This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances.
Look at his face.
This is an incredible day. You can see it in the families, in their eyes, and in their crimes.
When did you know you got to be Iraq?
a while ago. Got to make sure, want to make sure everything was in place.
Okay, well, the audio's too low, really, for people to hear it. He's just, but when I'm looking at that, Joseph, he's like, Kamala is talking, and he's like, he's
Like
only
a dog.
50, yeah, 50% there. He's, yeah, and
No,
then,
I'm thinking it's more like the dog looking like somebody who's high and not making sense. Could the head cock the
and then you mentioned this. I'm going to bring this up here now. He wanders away from this news conference, and he's like, he clearly doesn't know what the heck he's doing. Where he's going. Watch what happens when he finishes this question.
Prime Minister,
I shouldn't laugh because it's actually sad, but
we have the basis for a ceasefire. He should move on, and they should move on now.
this is definitely one of those Bible moments.
Pardon me?
Ceasefire ruined after the assassination of Kyiv.
It's not helped.
Do you expect Iran to strike back?
That's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're going to strike back. I'd say the retaliation is imminent, but we'll see how it goes. Look at what he's doing here. They're like, Joe.
Where the hell are you going?
Why are
And
you
the
climbing?
Easter Bunny isn't there to save him this time.
That's a one-way ticket to Turkey, maybe to
Please.
Russia.
Send him! Send him!
He's like, take me to the Russian leader.
But
And it's like, they're like, why did he get on the plane? Like,
now,
the plane is empty now, Joe.
he is right about one thing that he said. He contacted other leaders and they gave up. Germany is the one that sacrificed here because that assassin is going to be back in Europe again, not here in the U.S.
He's still wandering around in the empty airplane. He's probably bumping into the walls and how do I get how do I exit the stage? They're like, Joe, Joe.
He's probably
Joe?
thinking, is this a Leslie Nielsen movie? Which one of you is playing
Just-
Shirley? Right?
Come on out, Joe. Joe?
Somebody get the Easter Bunny to save his butt again.
Hello, Mr. President. What are you doing in there? Just, like, what is this? There he is.
And it goes on and on and on. Yeah. I mean,
It's just. That's very athletic of him to take that last step down those stairs.
Thanks for being everybody.
Yeah, okay, Joe. Okay.
that's the one and only improvement tackling Kamala, or as I coined Kamala, ELE instead of ALA, because it will be an extinction level event if she becomes POTUS. And like New York Mag stole from me, Camelot, they're trying to turn her into JFK and Camelot, right? Call me Joe Stradamus. I predicted it on the 21st. This was coming, and sure it is. Yeah, anything to get away from policy. They got, oh, look how wonderful and graceful and eloquent. Just don't listen to her talk. She is. Yeah.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. So that's the way all of that has been going down, and we ran footage last night of some of the Russian prisoners returning home to Russia and being greeted by Vladimir Putin. It is an important moment in history, no doubt.
Yeah, that's the one good thing, though, about if Kamala does get elected, at least we'll still have word salad, which is as bad as Biden bumbling, but she won't wander onto empty planes, we can hope. Wander around the lawn and need to have the Easter Bunny bring her back, or the president of Italy. What the hell are you doing, Joe? The photo op and the presser is over here.
Have you been following what's been going on in Venezuela with the elections and the riots?
Of course, yes.
Okay,
And
so tonight we see that Secretary of State Antony Blinken has issued a statement. It actually came out, I think it was issued just after we were off the air last night. Here it is right here. Here's the statement by Antony Blinken. I'll put it up on the screen, but in a nutshell, the United States has declared Maduro's opponent the actual victor in the Venezuelan election. It says the United States applauds the Venezuelan people for their participation in the July 28th presidential election. Despite significant challenges, at least 12 million Venezuelans peacefully went to the polls and exercised one of the most powerful rights given to people in any democracy, the right to vote. Unfortunately, the processing of those votes and the announcement of results by the Maduro-controlled National Electoral Council were deeply flawed, yielding an announced outcome that does not represent the will of the Venezuelan people. So Blinken State Department, U.S. government saying not a legitimate election. They have declared the opposition opponent the victor in this election.
Yeah, as if everyone didn't really kind of know that was coming. And I apologize. I will be doing this through the night. I've got a pinched nerve. I've taken some CBD. I've taken this pain meds, but it ain't cutting it. Every once in a while, I'll get like a shocking pain through the neck. But
Oh.
but yeah, I mean, and of course, what is Venezuela's response? Sometimes a grain of truth can come out. What does America have to say about Venezuela elections after the rigged 2020 election? So, hey, stop clock can be right twice a day. They're right on that. But, as a deflection, their rigged, stolen election, what do they got to do? Deflect from that to point back at ours.
So Edmundo Gonzalez and the people around him say that their offices have now been ransacked after all of this, after the United States basically declaring him the victor, or saying, I mean, they don't get to declare the victor, but the United States certainly said that it wasn't a legit election. And the guy that they say won is now facing serious pushback from the Maduro government.
I
We've
sure
seen
hope
these
he's
massive
got
protests.
Sure hope he's got good bodyguards. He may not stay alive much longer because the Russian assassin, I take it back, might not stay in Europe. That they just let out might land up, go to Moscow, turn around back on a plane to Venezuela because Russia is sending basically ground troops in disguise to be out as part of the murder squads going around Venezuela right now, murdering off more of the vocal opposition that's going on in the streets.
Interesting you bring that up because we are seeing reports that members of the Wagner military group, which is, a mercenary organization essentially that has been integrated into the Russian military. It's a private military firm. The United States has their own. The Wagner Group is the Russian version, and we're seeing reports that they have Wagner troops on the ground in Venezuela tonight. Here's some footage to back that up. Take it for what it's worth, and you'll see some symbols, insignia, patches on some of these uniforms. And no doubt, no question that you are looking at an axis of power, if you will, or an alliance that has been forged between Venezuela, Russia, all of these. The world is being split in half essentially. So you have your communist countries, a lot of your Arab countries aligning with Russia. So you've got Russia, China, Brazil, India, Cuba, Venezuela, some of these Arab countries as well, Yemen. They're coming over on at least the Houthis anyway, on side with with that group, and then we've got the NATO and the West on the other side. But that's what's playing out in Venezuela.
Yeah, Brazil is kind of almost like a Turkey, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, Turkey should be kicked out of NATO. Sometimes we work well with Brazil, sometimes we don't. There was a point in time where we, letting the cat out of the bag here, we were working with Brazil to send secret ops into Venezuela to overthrow Chavez. That's gone by the wayside. But the only way Venezuela's coming back is if indeed Brazil, and allowed and backed by U.S. and air support, Brazil goes in to Venezuela. for better or worse, can it get any worse?
Well, the thing is, it's like so tonight you have Maduro saying that he won't hesitate to call for another or a new revolution if his government is threatened, and he's blaming U.S. imperialism
Of
for
course.
his grief, right? Uh, Here, I'll bring up a headline. This is just the CTV headline tonight. Maduro warrants he'll call for a new revolution enforced by North American imperialism. And he,
It's
of course,
already going on in the streets. Again,
yeah.
murder troops. He is paying cartels. The deal is made. You can deal as many drugs as you like as long as if you go out and murder my opposition. I can't officially use the police to do that, even though he is, but he prefers the cartels and the gangs do his bidding in return for, again, leftists siding with criminals and thugs.
And
You know,
we are seeing confirmed reports that at least 20 people are dead because of the protests. Now, how did they all die? I don't know what the circumstances are in each of these, but I think that what you're talking about probably is related.
yep, they tie together there.
And this is this is the thing. It's like, how do we know what's real? How do we know what's fake? Every aspect of this is part of an information war because they have an election. Is it a legitimate election? We don't know. All that, there's evidence that polls were shut down early, that there were shenanigans going on. But why was that going on? Was the government rigging stuff? Are those reports fully legitimate? On the one side, you're getting reports that, oh, yes, this was a completely free and fair election. On the other side, you're hearing, oh, no, this was completely bogus and it was all rigged. So then you get this election and you get the results that appear to be maybe suppressed, or that's one set of reports. On the other side, you're saying they're saying, oh no, this is the real result, and Maduro is the legitimate president. And then you're getting these riots in the streets, and then you get these the seeds of doubt thrown over that where people are saying, oh no, that's just a CIA generated protest. That's a color revolution, all orchestrated, choreographed by the United States of America, because they are a fascist bunch of Nazis up there in the United States and Canada. Bunch of fascist Nazis, and they hate communists like Maduro. So that's why they're doing it. And it's all the fault of the United States. So you have these two stories that are out there, and then it just comes down to, well, which set of information or all facts, which set of facts do you want to believe, right? You can point to certain actual evidence, videos of this, videos of that. You can find material online, but at the end of the day, it just screws with people's heads. It's like, what's the truth? What's the truth? And I guarantee you, if you go down and look at certain live streamers who here in Canada and the United States and in Europe, there's certain ones that will pick one side, certain ones that will pick the other, and it's becoming increasingly predictable who's going to say what to me, because I'm seeing the even the social media influencers who are part of the info war kind of taking their masks off, especially since October 7th, and just revealing where their real loyalties lie. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
No, I do. And I also wanted to, since I mentioned Turkey once already, I don't buy for a minute Erdogan was legally, officially reelected to his last election either. We, when his military made a move on behalf of the people, we should have sided with their military and aided the coup to overthrow him.
Do you think that we should even be involved in aiding in any coups or being involved in any of these elections? My view is that all these countries are in everybody else's countries doing all of these things all of the time. That's, I
Yeah,
think, what
yeah.
the truth of the matter is.
Well,
The, you know,
Russia and China are certainly involved. Do we, for our own well being, also not want to try to be involved to our benefit, you know, uh, our standing, our principles, our values? But again, when you've got like a Biden in office, he sides with our enemies, not with our founders, not with our Canadian allies or English and French and Spanish and Italian and German and Japanese allies. They're busy siding with the enemy and the terrorists.
hard to,
Which is amazing why Biden, yes, administration came out and said, no, you didn't win that election. The other guy won the election. It's clear. It's obvious. We know you can't produce any evidence you won. You're going to need, like the Democrats need, a week-long election to manufacture the right amount of ballots to show.
oh my, that's the thing, right? So you have a lot of people saying tonight, well, who is Anthony Blinken, or even who is the United States to say anything about what's going on in Venezuela after what we've witnessed here over the past, what, at least two elections, maybe more.
And
You know,
there's certainly a validity to that argument.
oh yes, I think that there is some validity to it. It's like somebody, living in a glass house throwing rocks, right?
But yeah. But I mean,
And I,
Putin even legitimately win his Mr. Dictator for life. But hey, like Hitler, hey, I was elected. Yeah, yeah. So Russia backing him in Venezuela is like, you've got no legitimacy either.
people have different views. Some people were really excited about Joe Biden getting 80 million plus votes and a record, turnout in the last
Guy
election.
that's run for president how many times and never got anywhere out of their primaries, and everybody knows Obama picked him to be the stooge, him being the supposed fresh new face, had to have the old stodgy white guy for his VP, and picked Hillary over Biden to run. But and now Biden saying, hey, I demand and you mentioned something, you felt sorry in a way for Biden. Yeah,
Kinda.
I feel no sympathy. And here's why. Because in my opinion, if you went back in time 20 years and asked Joseph R. Biden, in 20 years, you're going to be so senile and clueless, but we'll make you president, a puppet president. He would say, okay, sure, sign me up. I think he would be fully on board if he were all there being the figurehead. So I have no sympathy for him because he's always wanted that title, president.
So I kind of related to this. I'll segue this way. All this confusion, controversy, um, surrounding the Venezuelan election, I think that it's terrible for people. It's terrible for the world. It's terrible, just terrible. It screws with people's heads. You can't tell what's real. Nobody knows whether this is legitimate, whether that's legitimate, whether was a fake election or a real election. Was the United States to blame, or what's Russia's role in this? What's China's role? Nobody knows. So that's all that it really takes. It just takes a few seeds of doubt to be sown so that it grows into a complete mess, into chaos, right? And now you have riots in the streets, you have people dead, and then it's like you don't even know how it was caused, why it was caused. Was it organic? Was it choreographed? So that's what's going on there. The same kinds of things are actually going on in America as we speak. The exact same kinds of things. And it's really been going on for many decades, whether you want to talk about the JFK assassination and all the conspiracy theories surrounding that. I've come to the conclusion, and this is my conspiracy theory, that that the conspiracy theories, my conspiracy theory is all the conspiracy theories surrounding the JFK thing, not all of them, but a lot of them have been injected into the psyche or the zeitgeist of America in order to create perpetual chaos and undermine trust and confidence in our systems, in our government, in our institutions, in our policing, in every aspect of our society, in an effort to really tear at the very fabric of the nation and ultimately tear it down, or at least tear it apart. And it's done in a variety of different ways, but the JFK thing is like an entry point. And then fast forward to this attempted assassination against Donald J. Trump, right? So someone, very good friend of the show, and I've not just this one person, but many people actually sending me constantly links to videos and new conspiracies about how many shooters there were at the Trump thing. I mean, the truth, I think, is kind of like right in front of you. It's just so blatantly obvious what happened. Just a little bit of common sense. Just look at what happened. That's what happened. But now people can't believe their own eyes. They don't believe the video evidence, because now we have all these people with all these conspiracies and theories and ideas. I can't, like, as it was sent to me today, I was messaging with someone and I was like, I don't have time to look at all this stuff. I can't even absorb it all anymore. There's so much of it. I can't even watch it all. And I think most of it is just a bunch of BS for the most part. It's people either looking for clicks, so they're clickbait artists, or, and that's most of them. And I think also you already have some foreign infiltration there into the information stream where they are helping these conspiracies gain momentum so that it creates more and more chaos within the election itself, within our society, to screw with the minds of the American people, to screw with my mind, your mind, everybody's mind here watching the show, everybody in the chat, everybody watching tonight. Take note of this. They are messing with your minds. And that's what's going on with most of these, like with a lot of this crazy, there was 3 shooters. No, there were 4 shooters. I've heard, no, there were 2 shooters. There was only 1 shooter. I mean, my God, there were no shooters. The whole thing was a staged event. And it was a manufactured photo op for Donald Trump. And the whole thing was like set up so that he would have the flag behind him and the whole thing. And I did say, like, he couldn't script it any better. And the photographer would just happen to be in exactly the right place at the right time to get the framing just right as Donald Trump stands up, raises his fist in the air, American flag right behind him. It's like, could you have posed any better than that? No. I mean, so it just lends itself to that conspiracy
No, but what
theory.
you're saying,
it's screwing with everybody's minds.
right? But again, the deep state and especially the left that is always calling us on the right conspiracy theorists, now have all these, like you said, it was a staged photo op conspiracies out there. I mean, they are more weirdly conspiratorial than we are a lot of times on the right. But yeah, we talked about this. The audio evidence, I think, is clear enough to say, indeed, 3. I keep doing that. Hold up one hand with 3 fingers is 3. Holding up 2 with 3 makes 6. 3 guns. But what story do you buy that associates each of the 3 guns to whom and why? So, yeah. And again, yeah, endless clickbait on that.
Oh my
Over
God.
and nothing but clickbait out there.
Yeah, and it's everywhere right now because we are at war. So, I mean, the 9/11 stuff, that's bad enough as it is, right? Like that's another entry point to all the rabbit holes and conspiracy theories. They're just like key milestone moments in history, certain events that act as portals into the world of I don't know what's real anymore. 9/11 is another one of them. And we're getting a series of these now because of the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. So, for instance, Middle East, there was the rocket attack in the Golan Heights. Was it about a week ago or so, I guess, right? Now it's been about a week. And that, with I think 12 people were killed there. Uh, the allegation is that Hamas, uh, or no. Sorry, I have to make sure I get all my incidents. Uh, it was a Hezbollah rocket, if I remember right. Isn't that right?
The one
Oh, for
that
crying out
killed the
loud.
kids.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, because there were two actual incidents that happened around the same time, and because you've got the actually three, because you have the assassinations as well happening shortly after that. But the allegation on the one side is that on the other side is that the Israelis did it to themselves. Right, which is like the go-to now. It's like every time there's an attack, Israel did it to themselves. October 7th, oh no, the Israel killed all the people.
Again,
Israel did it.
never mind the fact that the terrorists were running around with GoPros on, showing themselves, showing the camera of each other so they could be identified as real Hamas terrorists engaging in open acts of violence against citizens. Because again, not one military target was struck.
And so, and people want to, I think people want to believe what they want to believe, especially when they kind of pick a side and then they're on that side and they're just going to believe everything that supports that particular side. It's like a picking a team in a sporting event, right? You're going to cheer for team A or team B, and once you're on that side, the other team can't do anything right, and your team does everything right. Can't do anything wrong.
Well,
That's what's going on.
On both left and right, those who
Yeah.
crave power and in power and want to hang on to their power like more and more conspiracy, because the more of it that's out there, then everything can and will be labeled conspiracy to try to get you to dismiss it all.
So when I watch a lot of this stuff online, a lot of it has become actually of zero value to me. When I've been watching a lot of these guys talk about these wars, the so-called experts, I'm listening to them and they become so extreme, some of them in what they're saying. When I say extreme, I mean it's like, well, the United States might as well just give up now, and the West and Ukraine might as well just pack it in because they don't have a chance, a snowball's chance, and you know what, of achieving any kind of victory at all. In fact, they're just going to get devastated if they go in there because their technology sucks and they got no manpower, and that's the end of everything. Then they should just give up now and capitulate.
Yeah.
I'm like, but then I heard today, like another report on sort of the pro-Ukrainian side, saying that they've had as many as I think the number was like 500,000 people trying to flee Crimea. And I'm like, really? Like they have this massive exodus out of Crimea because they're worried about an escalation of military activity there. Now, I have been listening and paying attention, and I think there has been an escalation of activity. I haven't really been able to talk to like our guy, Kevin, there about this too much, but I haven't really heard him. Like normally he would like message if there was something major going on, or I don't know, but I'm not really hearing that from him. But over here, I'm hearing all these reports that there's like all this major activity and that people are trying to get the heck out of Crimea and get out of the way. And I know that, there is absolutely bias in the way that everybody reports on things pretty much. And he's got his take, you've got your take, I've got my take, but I'm trying to keep an open mind to everything. But here I am again. There's another example. I don't really know what the heck is the reality in Crimea right now. I think
Yeah.
there, yeah.
How many times have I said on your show? The reality is, it doesn't matter the conflict. Every side has their own
Propaganda team.
yeah, that's what I'm getting to, but their own objectives and goals in using this conflict for their benefit, and therefore every side, including the US, engages in propaganda.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I have been looking at a lot of alternative sources in the last few weeks, trying to just really find what the real truth is, trying to find the gray areas, pick out the stuff that's obviously a lie here and a lie there, and then temper that against this over here and really kind of get a better bead on what the truth really is about a lot of things.
Yeah, but that latest attack, supposed attack in Crimea, is Putin propaganda garbage, and whether or not maybe it is causing some to be concerned and trying to flee, there could be some truth in that. Who knows? I would think most that weren't pro Putin and pro Russia would have already fled Crimea. So,
Well, yeah,
are these
because
Putin allies fleeing?
right, and what you don't really hear in the media reports here is that you have, especially in places like the Donbass and Crimea, you have that's really where the you basically had a civil war. You have a civil war underway, right? And now,
Yeah.
and then Russia got involved in that. And this is the side of the story you don't hear, especially from those who have adopted the Russian perspective or point of view, and that includes some prominent people, political figures in the United States who have just adopted this Russian perspective on it, right? Largely trumpeted by people like Professor John Mearsheimer, and others, but it kind of starts a lot of it there. So yeah, it's there's absolutely bias, but when you're listening to that perspective, you're only getting half the story. You're not hearing about the Civil War aspects of this, the internal conflict within Russia, the cultural conflict, and how that has been, and how things have changed in Crimea since Russia came in and annexed that area, and what life has been like for at least a bunch, maybe half the population there. It's just it's not it's do you see what I'm saying? It's like if you've got side A and side B and they're clashing, and it's a language thing, it's a culture thing, it's a political thing.
I gotta take some more drugs. Oh God, my neck is killing me. Oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna overdose on Tylenol and Advil tonight, I think. You know what? I think
That's
I
okay.
think I'm gonna lean over and get an 800 milligram ibuprofen instead. So I
So
may be
good.
a bit foggy.
Wonky, a little
Wonk,
wonky.
yeah, wonky. There's the word. When we get to the movie
Well,
event.
yeah, I'll tell you what, while you get all juiced up there on your ibuprofen, because boy, does Joseph know how to partay. Okay. Well, he does that. I'm gonna remind everybody that we do have the Maverick Midnight Matinee coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern, which is only just a little over an hour from now, and we're going to be running The Last Man on Earth. And with that being said, here's the trailer, the promo for tonight's feature presentation on Maverick Midnight Matinee.
We switch you to the state capitol, where His Excellency, the Governor, is speaking from the Executive Mansion.
Further, I have
in conjunction with the federal government, declared this state to be a disaster area.
I was sent to keep you here until they come.
To kill me.
Vampires, alive among the lifeless, that make the night hideous with their inhuman cravings. If they are not destroyed in the flaming pits of hellfire, or staked to the ground in the light of the sun, will the unbelievable become real? A world of inanimate zombies by day, irresistible, horrifying attackers by night. Can a zombie woman's hunger for love repopulate the earth?
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's take that down and bring Joseph back in. Hello.
Hello?
How's that?
I'm typing to Canada. He says about not being able to wake up some people. I'm typing exactly. You can only lead people to the truth, but you cannot make them think. A play on the old "you can lead a horse to water" thing, right?
Yeah, so speaking of fake news and information warfare, you've been digging into some other stuff, and what do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, the supposed cluster cluster bomb, not the cluster F, the supposed cluster bomb that was supplied by the U.S. to the Ukrainians to drop on innocent Crimean Russians. Never mind the military facilities they put, like Hamas is doing in Gaza, behind human shields. Oh, it can't be any of that. It's got to be a purposeful attack rather than shrapnel from a a missile that was shot down targeting radar facilities, because you know Ukraine has very few planes, so they absolutely got to take out radar installations no matter where they are. And that's part of the problem with this war is Biden demands Ukraine fight this like Vietnam. You got to fight to win. Like real leaders study the art of war. Unfortunately, idiots like Biden study the art of stupid by sunburn. You've got to attack the enemy where they are, even in their own territory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're talking about this. This was almost about a month ago, actually. This attack on the Sevastopol beach. Is that the one?
Yes,
that we're talking
exactly.
about here. Okay,
exactly.
And so you have some video here. I think this is the clip that it was initially released of what was supposed to be the attack and the way that. Well, we'll show you the clip. This is. So that was the.
To tell a whole lot from that, right?
Yeah, that's what was released. Now I remember, there was discussion here. Okay, so that's not the beach. This is in Ukraine, apparently. This is other footage from Sky News. Okay.
Right.
So I guess Sky News is trying to show the
juxtaposition.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that was very shaky video. I was like, I can't really see anything from that. I don't get it.
And with all the supposed cameras there are everywhere all the time, you don't have good evidence like the attacks on civilians in Ukraine with Russian drones and missiles. If it happens once, twice, it could be an oops, right? And collateral damage. But Russians attacking civilian apartment complexes all through Ukraine is called willful, because it's a pattern of behavior. It happens over and over. So even if we were to believe the propaganda from the left that Ukraine hit some civilians on a beach, that to me is a one-off collateral damage mistake, but that isn't what happened.
Yeah, so when I look at the headlines that have come out from sort of the anti-American side, anti-Ukraine side, they're using words like murdered civilians. And when Kevin first came on to talk about this, because he did, I think, the first night have a discussion with me about this, and his information was what he had been told was that this was seemed to be an intentional attack on the beach involving cluster munitions, which if you've ever seen cluster munitions detonated, they are devastating. Like
where are the holes? Where are the mass casualties that a cluster bomb in a crowded beach would cause? This was a missile headed towards a radar installation or other staged Russian military items, because Ukraine is finally going to take off the gloves maybe and go at the Russian assets where they are. They shot it down and it was fragments. It wasn't a cluster bomb. It was fragments that may have injured some people where it came down, but that's not where it was heading.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess the the thing that's making this continuing to make this newsworthy is the fact that they have now built a bomb shelter on that beach in Sevastopol. We also have seen, I think,
if there are no Russian military assets making that area a legitimate military target, why would you need the bomb shelter?
and you are also seeing, I know that there have been some reports out of, or like RT, I think, has reported that, I think there is footage, let me just see, yeah, of divers retrieving what they're saying is a cluster munition. So I think they've retrieved at least one. And I don't know if they've retrieved more than that, but the report here is that they retrieved a cluster munition, one, singular. But there was other footage, like from a security camera, that showed like a lot of what appeared to be, well, things dropping into the water.
Fragments.
Possibly, but it seemed to be like a pattern. And I know that those ATACMS missiles can be and often are equipped with cluster, or not, I don't know how often, but can be equipped with cluster munitions. So, but then the story, I do remember this. The story after we had Kevin on the program, it changed to, or from this idea that the beach had been intentionally targeted. Then there were other reports saying that there were multiple missiles fired, all of them shot down, including this one over the beach, which then was fragmented, and a lot of the debris came down, and that's what resulted in some people being injured. And I think there were some deaths as well. But the numbers as well, which makes me wonder about things, is that the numbers kept fluctuating from day to day to day. There were a lot of the details not consistent in the reports for whatever reason.
Now, of course, if they've got radar installations and they're staging operations from that area, they're going to have SAMs, surface to air missile, anti-missile missile defenses like Israel's Iron Dome, our Patriot missile batteries, to indeed try to shoot down incoming missiles trying to destroy that radar facility. Because again, Ukraine has so few airplanes, they cannot allow Russian radar installations to give early warning and pinpoint anytime a Ukrainian asset is in the air.
Now, I do know that that Russia has been criticized by, in some reports that I've seen, even before this incident, of putting military installations near the beach and areas where tourists congregate. Heavily criticized by some in media, even before this incident.
Just as Hamas does. And they're allied. Russia and Hamas, why would they not also adopt the same tactics? And that's what we're seeing here.
And this has all happened with a couple of things that lend this is information that's going to support, I think, what you're saying here, Joseph, if I'm reading you right. You have the F-16s about to enter the picture, okay, being given to Ukraine. So they're coming on scene. So yes, if there are radar installations, for instance, there, they want to take those out in order to protect those F-16s, because they don't have many of them coming in anyway. The other thing is that this all happened around the time that, if I recall, it was right around the same time that the United States, NATO countries were giving the green light to Ukraine for the first time to use NATO-supplied munitions, weapons, missiles to attack targets inside Russia.
Again, this goes back to the art of war versus the art of stupid. If you're not willing to if Putin knows we will not attack anywhere beyond the Russian borderline, well, you stage everything right across in your own territory. You've got to hit those installations in Russian territory,
Because if
or
they
you're
have
not
missile
fighting a
launchers on,
war.
if they have missile launchers on the Russian side of the border, and they're just firing missiles constantly into, areas to attack Ukrainian positions, then yeah, it's like, what are you supposed to do if you're not allowed to shoot back? They'll just sit back on the behind the Russian border and just keep on firing missiles, and you're not allowed to defend. Like that would be defensive in that case. Now you also have some photographs, some, I think you said aerial photographs, right, to share here
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, and
Okay.
the other thing too is oh, I forgot now what I was going to say, but Putin does not care about the Crimean and other citizens of the territory. They wanted Crimea to be all Russian controlled to protect that port that's been there operating under agreement with Ukraine for a long time. But that wasn't good enough anymore. And he wants the other area, doesn't care about those people. He wants that land bridge to Crimea to all be Russian territory.
Well,
It's not about
that
the people, it's
yeah,
about the land.
it is a very important piece of infrastructure. That bridge, Ukraine keeps attacking it. Uh, it is a key component to all of this, and yeah, there is evidence that they do have military installations all around that beach that you are going to show us here. So here's some aerial photographs of military bases or installations, airfields, I think even in inside Crimea. So these are aerial reconnaissance photos that are out
Yeah,
there that
and
you've
again,
obtained, right?
ultimately, this was the goal all along, to be able to put military installations along and around the seaport they were using there. That
Right.
it's not about Russian speakers, just as Hitler claiming, oh, German speaking descendants in Poland, I'm going into Poland, which at the same time, of course, Stalin went into. And history, again, Stalin went into Finland before Hitler invaded anybody. But yet, we didn't attack Russia. We attacked Hitler and Germany. Hitler was stupid. He could have gone into Finland and been their savior, kicking the Soviets out.
Well, to stay focused on this, right? So we're looking at here. I guess this is it appears to be an airfield.
Yeah, but it's all regarding strategy. Again, if you're not willing to attack the enemy where their assets are, just surrender.
Well, even
surrender. You're
Ukraine.
not fighting.
Ukraine still argues that Crimea is part of Ukraine. So
yeah.
Everything in Crimea is still would have been fair game anyway, even before this before these NATO countries, including the U.S., giving Ukraine permission to use those weapons on targets, military targets inside the Russian border. And there's this other photo with aerial photo showing a radar installation.
There's the radar, the main battery. There are others, but this is the one, again, lending the point of they're looking to take out Russian military assets. These are legitimate military targets, unlike the apartment buildings Russia keeps striking in Ukraine. And they, with SAM or their version of SAM, I forget right now exactly what they call those, their version of the SAM batteries or the Patriot missiles, shot down incoming missiles to take out those installations, and the debris, not a cluster bomb, came down on the beach because Putin doesn't care about any of the people. They are useful idiots for his need to land grab.
Yeah, and I've looked at this before because of all this, criticism about the use of cluster munitions when the United States decided that they were going to provide these cluster munitions to Ukraine. Heavy, heavy criticism. But the thing to note here is that Russia has been using them too. And if you look up the information, there have been verified reports from the United Nations that show or indicate that Russia is using cluster munitions too, which is these are horrific weapons, and a lot of people would like them to just be banned and not be used. And in fact, there are some restrictions, I think, even in international agreements about whether they should or should not be used. But both sides have been using them in the Ukraine conflict. And I from the information I have, this is just information I've seen. There are reports that Russia has used cluster munitions on at least 24 occasions. And that is information coming from the UN. Now, others may have another perspective on this.
The UN, which is no friend to the US, and therefore not really much of a friend to Ukraine. So it's not like it's coming from some pro-Zelensky outlet, right? Yes, and again, Zelensky corrupt, Biden corrupt, Putin corrupt. There is no leader involved here that isn't corrupt. It's not about supporting Zelensky. It's about supporting the innocent Ukrainian people and sovereignty of the Ukrainian state.
So what's the takeaway here, and why are we focused so much on this? Because it's, I guess, your assertion that this was an exaggeration, that it was not a direct attack on the beach by Ukraine. It wasn't an intentional missile attack, that it was maybe some truth wrapped up with a whole lot of propaganda in order to score some political points internationally. Is that am I reading what you're trying to tell us properly?
I am not saying that some Putin stooges completely falsely created a non-event to peddle his propaganda. Yeah, some debris from shot down missiles came down there and some people were injured. They are trying to twist it and spin it into, oh my God, look at those evil Ukrainians and Americans attacking innocent civilians. That isn't what happened. And again, let's devil's advocate. If it was a stray missile that wasn't shot down and whatever and accidentally hit the beach, that's called a one-off. Or if it happens twice, right, it's sad, but collateral damage happens at times. But this isn't that. Like Russia constantly hitting civilian apartment buildings. It's a pattern of behavior. This is not a pattern of behavior. And again, it was attempts to hit military assets that got shot down. Well, not shot down, but, broken up in the air. Intercepted is the word I'm looking for. Incoming missiles got intercepted, broke apart. The debris came down, hurt some innocent people. No denying some innocent people were hurt. But as you alluded to earlier, if it was a real cluster bomb purposefully sent there and hit there, there would be craters all over that beach.
Yeah, well, I can maybe find some footage of cluster munitions actually being detonated to show people what that would look like. Here appears to be security camera footage, which we've shown on here before. I'll get your assessment then. I just went and found this. So this is what the attack looked like with security camera footage. So I remember this footage. There you see those things hitting the water. Looks like something down there by those stairs.
Something definitely made a thud there by that building, but that wasn't a cluster bomb. If that was part of a cluster bomb, that building would be erased. That's debris falling.
Yeah. And there's stuff hitting the water from another angle from another security camera. And it looks like falling into the water and then creating like a huge splash of some
And no
kind.
doubt the people are panicking. You,
Yeah.
obviously, anything falling from the sky or multiple objects, even if they're small pieces of debris, it's going to cause a panic. But
Mhm.
yeah, this is the best evidence of it isn't what they're saying it was, or there would be almost nothing left of any of
Yeah.
that to see.
So, okay, so there's that. And that was actually offered up as evidence of to support what the reports were. Okay. So let me just see if I can find what cluster munitions look like when they're detonated. Let me just do a
And
quick
again, now there
search.
are different types of cluster munitions. There's somewhat smaller ordnance, and there's much bigger ordnance. So again, defined cluster weapon, a, a, a warhead with 5 subunits, or a warhead with 500 sub cluster bombs that then obliterate a clear mile of territory in one fell swoop.
Well, that's an animation. I don't want to show an animation. I want to show something that's real.
Well, the
Well,
animation may do if nothing else. It's depending on the
okay.
source again,
So
right?
here's this is footage of this is from Fox News 8 years ago, a Russian jet dropping cluster bombs on Aleppo in Syria, according to the caption on this. So let's take a look at this. And again, I mean, this is not this incident. It's,
Right.
you know,
Just an example.
just something I'm finding here just online. So let's take a look at this. And so this is a Russian jet dropping cluster munitions in Syria. Footage posted 8 years ago.
Yeah, look at all that devastation and destruction. And that wasn't, that again was probably just a medium level degree cluster weapon. There are
Yeah.
some that will do more precision area damage, there are some that will do greater area damage.
Holy smokes. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. And that is not at all what it looked like on the beach.
No,
No.
not even close.
Even with them falling into the water like that, that to me looks entirely different. Maybe they were cluster munitions, but if they were falling and it didn't look like they were detonating to me. Thank goodness, because, those poor people on the beach.
Well, you're not going to have an entire set of 10, 50, 100, 500 sub-munition bombs in a cluster weapon all fail. Not one thing, including the one that fell next to the building with a thud, none of them are going to explode? Please.
Well, so
If it was
um,
what they said it was, because it wasn't.
and again, the thing that moves this story forward at this point is we know that they do have, I guess they still have, the Russians have some crews on the scene still there, scanning the beach or scanning, diving, looking for debris or whatever. And they now have I believe the bomb shelter is in place.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt they're still going to dive, and no doubt they will produce some manufactured evidence to try to further their propaganda claim.
Well, what else comes to mind, Joseph, is because of all of the reporting about this, it's amazing the way information travels. You have these initial reports, including here on this program, where we talked about it as, excuse me, as being something that's actually happened, and then from there, some of the larger mainstream media outlets picked up on it, at least one or two, and then from there, all of them picked up the story and ran with it. And
because none of them want to be scooped. So
that's right. That's exactly. I can tell you that's the way it works because I worked in television for CTV for so long. Everybody's watching all the other media, competing media. Nobody wants to get left behind. Nobody wants to get scooped. If somebody else has a story, you want the story, right? You can't any major
and
stories.
everybody's got an exclusive. That's the
And
warping of language and spin.
and
Well,
this
our
is how
reporter is saying it, so it's
yeah.
exclusive to us because our reporter isn't on that other channel. But even though you're
Jack,
really showing the
right.
same B-roll.
So this information flows from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And this went all the way, if when I think about it, it got all the way into the US election campaign. What am I talking about? I'm talking about RFK Jr.
The Blame America crowd wants to run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he picked up on this. Let me see if I can find his post.
He's a nut. He's a kook. But, in a way, he can be a useful idiot. Run with that. He might, I think he's doing that to attract the anti-Biden crowd and some of the Trump level conspiracy theorists who might, again, just to be anti-Biden and anti-Zelensky, they'll be pro-Putin. So if RFK Jr. peddles this, they won't blame Biden, they'll blame America in general. He might get some Trump supporters, whereas, as I've said on the air before, I think, unlike the Perot election, he actually might pull some Biden voters. Other than that, he's getting disaffected.
Look. So here's a guy who's running for president of the United States, and because of that attack and the information that came out of that and the way that it was distributed, you have RFK Jr. who posted on social media saying that it was the United States engaged in a terrorist attack. He's calling the actions of the United States, his own country, terrorism. So RT picked up on this. This was like a gift to Putin, having RFK talk like this.
Yep.
So what does he say here? U.S. presidential candidate suggested that the incident was an act of war staged by Washington. So this is a guy who wants to be president, who is saying that what the United States did was escalatory and actually an act of war against Russia, which could in itself precipitate an actual war with Russia.
Yeah. Well, this is part of RFK's libertarian side. I'm against war, any war, doesn't matter, no matter whether it's justified because a nation unprovoked invaded a sovereign nation who then has a right to defend itself.
If you're running for president of the United States and you want peace, okay, and you actually really want this is the opposite of how you get peace. This is the stupidest thing someone could have said if you're running for the presidency of the United States. Even if you view it this way, if you really think that this is the truth, that's the last thing he should have said, because just by saying it puts the United States into a position of confrontation and of fault. And it says that the United States has basically declared war on Russia. And that's coming from someone who could end up sitting in the Oval Office.
Well, no, he would never be able to do that.
Potentially.
But yeah, legitimately, he's running.
So if you want... just by saying it, it's inflammatory, because that's going to get people jacked up, especially in Russia, who are then going to want to force retaliation. They're going to put pressure on Putin to retaliate because he's saying that the United States did this illegal act of terrorism and act of war. It's basically an act of war without actually declaring war, which is not proper either. This is insane. This guy, I'm sorry, this is irresponsible. It's he's wow, this guy's going to run the country. This guy's going to bring foreign policy for. This is so irresponsible. I hadn't really paid that much attention to it. I knew he had said something along these lines at that time, but my God, you need to dial it back. Even as a candidate, you need to dial it down, not ramp it up. And this just pours, aviation fuel, gasoline all over
this might be RFK Jr. has not been in the news at all for like 6 weeks. This could have just been a desperate throw it at the wall to get attention.
Says
cry.
The recent Ukrainian attack in Sevastopol using American-made ATACMS missiles was terrorism in quotation marks and constituted an act of war by the United States against Russian civilians. U.S. presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said. Goes on here.
He's desperate for attention, even if it's negative.
I just don't think he was thinking. He's not using his brain. Maybe the worm ate more of his brain cells than I realized. Responding to the incident in a post on X Wednesday, Kennedy noted that the U.S. applied ATACMS missile launcher receives targeting data from, in his words, a sophisticated system only Americans can operate within Ukraine. That's not true. They train the Ukrainians to do it. He suggested that the only word to describe Kiev's attack on a civilian beach is, in his words again, terrorism. So the United States is guilty of terrorism and claimed that the fact that this was done using what are effectively U.S.-operated weapons meant that it was also an, again, quote, an act of war by the U.S. against Russian civilians. Whose side is this guy on? Okay, it goes on. Only Congress can legally declare war, Kennedy stressed. They should stop the unaccountable and reckless hawks directing an impaired President Biden. Even if you believe that that is the case, and he very well probably does, you shouldn't say that if you're running for president. You need to choose your words more carefully. You could still, deliver the message, but not in a way that paves the way for a full-blown war with Russia. That's just the wrong way to phrase it, the wrong way to handle it. That's certainly not diplomatic. It's just like, I hate America. That's what the guy's saying, basically. And we're guilty of all these atrocities. And then in the end, as the evidence that you're presenting would suggest, anyway, it was not exactly as advertised initially in the initial reports that we were getting out of there.
Yeah. Now, again, if this indeed were a cluster munition, my story would be different. That it would still relate. It would be, again, yes, we fired one at their installations and maybe it went off course and there was collateral damage. But again, that wasn't that. It isn't even close to that. It wasn't a cluster munition at all. There were shots fired indeed through the air by missile at Russian installations. They intercepted them. The debris came down.
And to defend a little bit from the stuff coming from the Russian side, a little bit, because not all the media was doing this, but the story was altered over time, even within Russian media, where they stopped saying it was a deliberate attack. They actually, a lot of media outlets in Russia then acknowledged later that it was the missile being shot down and the fragments coming down. That's what was really probably the truth, is the way that it ultimately was reported. And 4 civilians killed is what we were told, and 150 injured. Even those numbers, though, kept moving, shifting, being adjusted. It was never clear to me even now when I go and look it up, I'm not sure that even that is true.
Of course, the Russian side wants to inflate the numbers, and our side wants to suppress and lower the potential numbers.
But my God, for Kennedy to just grab that, he's just that's not him referencing actual valid intelligence information. That's just him spouting off based on some stuff he's picked up on through social media or media in general and making those kinds of statements. My God, to say those things, very beyond irresponsible. If that's the kind of president he would be, we would be in deep crap. In my opinion, because the
Yeah.
first thing he would do is surrender. Second thing he would do is give the whatever opponent it is whatever the hell they want. Third thing he would do is say, who would you like to incarcerate and put on trial for war crimes? Next thing he would do is he would say, would you like me to help you execute them? Right? Like,
and Biden would do all that if he wasn't beholden for all the Ukrainian money that he laundered through there.
And I'm not dismissing some of the bad things that have been done by the United States or anybody, right? I'm going to hold everybody accountable here, regardless.
Me too, brother. Me too.
Yeah, it's just. But if you're the president, you know you're supposed to be on that side, and being on that side doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you gloss over atrocities or don't hold people accountable for things that they've done wrong.
Or
all I'm saying is you want to keep the peace. You want to do things that don't escalate, that don't lend themselves to bringing us closer to war. What he just did there, well, maybe well-intentioned, opposite effect.
Yeah. We've got to not just claim to be better than the other guys. We've got to act better than the other guys, which means indeed at times holding our own accountable for bad things.
Right. But what you say in public when you're the president or even a presidential candidate, you have to be very careful about what you say. That goes triple for Donald Trump too. Okay? Because he's got, blah, 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 blah. You know?
No, that brings me, just as an aside, to the National Association of Black Journalists event. Oh, did you saw that email?
Oh, I did.
Oh,
yes.
did he? Oh, I'm not a Trump cultist. Boy, did he blow that interview.
No kidding.
You've had 8 years knowing the black jobs thing was going to come up, and you ain't got a reasonable, better explanation? Oh my God, he was horrible. And of course, the right side, Trump cultists, rah, 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 Trump hat guys are, he was brilliant. No, his inner 6-year-old came out again and he blew it. But they were 35 minutes late, so he was flustered. And I get that. But no, you're a presidential candidate. You've had 8 years to now get that answer right of the question you knew was coming, and you were still completely unprepared.
It just, can't we find some better candidates? Can we start all over again with all new candidates, not just one? Like all new ones, all new candidates.
I want Trump without the Trump, yeah. But hey, Trump Vance 2024. Let me make clear, yes, but I'm not a cultist for anybody. Remember, I'm the guy who calls Francis the nincompoop. I will criticize anybody on this planet when they deserve to be criticized.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's we're just down at the bottom of the hour. So what we need to do here is actually we need to kind of wrap this up, and then we'll switch over, and we'll come back on in a whole new broadcast with Maverick Midnight Matinee. Are you going to be able to do it tonight? Because you look like you're in pain, man.
I am in pain. Just damn pinched nerve, but I will soldier through. I may lean back and kind of relax a bit through it, but
get your popcorn. Get your popcorn out.
Now,
this movie's Joseph.
I don't need another link, right? We're going to be in the same studio, but
no, I'm going to send you a new link. We're going to. It's a whole new program. Okay, so it'll be. Yeah, and another broadcast. Have you seen The Last Man on Earth before?
I think I have, but it's been so long that I don't, I liked Vincent
It's
Price
got it
back
all,
when.
man.
And
It's
I
got it
think
all.
that
It's got a virus. It's got vampire zombies. It's got Vincent Price.
Yeah, I think that was the genesis for the Heston Omega Man, which were then later remade with Will Smith.
Into I Am Legend, which was the
Yeah.
name of the book that this was all based
Yeah,
on.
Omega Man was the Heston one.
Yeah.
I Am Legend was the
I
Smith
loved
one.
I Am Legend with Will Smith. That was a fantastic movie. This one's also fantastic. This is, I think it is maybe the best performance ever by Vincent Price, the master of horror.
I think some
I'm
would
gonna
say
love it.
Vincent Price's best on-screen appearance was in the Michael Jackson video.
Yeah, well, he had the laugh down, didn't he? He sure did. So yeah, so we'll be back, folks, very soon at 10 p.m. Eastern, in less than 1/2 hour from now, for Maverick Midnight Matinee. Tonight's feature presentation shall be The Last Man on Earth. See you then on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.